The wind screamed across the frozen planet, sharp and endless, cutting through everything in its path. Commander Ethan Cole moved slowly through the storm, each step heavy, each breath harder than the last. His suit was damaged, oxygen levels were dropping, and his ship was barely holding together behind him. This mission was supposed to be simple, just a quick survey of an empty ice world, nothing more. But now, everything had gone wrong. The crash had destroyed most of his systems. Communication was dead, engines were weak, and rescue was days away, if it came at all. Ethan looked at the dark sky, filled with frozen clouds and distant stars. This place is a grave, he muttered to himself, his voice low and tired. He turned back toward his ship, ready to give up the search and survive as long as he could. Then he heard it, a sound. Soft, weak, almost lost in the storm. Ethan stopped, his body going still. At first, he thought it was just the wind. This planet was known for strange echoes, sounds that felt real but were not. But then it came again, a faint cry, not mechanical. Not from his ship. Something alive. Ethan slowly turned his head, scanning the frozen ruins around him. No. That's not possible, he whispered. His scanner had shown no life forms, not even bacteria. This world was supposed to be completely dead. But the sound came again, a little louder this time. Help. Ethan's heart started to beat faster. That was not the wind. That was a voice. He hesitated, his mind racing. It could be a trap, some kind of alien trick or worse. Something he could not fight. He looked back at his ship just a short distance away. Safety was there. Warmth was there. Survival was there. Then the cry came again, weaker this time, and something inside him broke. Ethan let out a slow breath. Damn it. He turned away from the ship. Step by step, he followed the sound, moving deeper into the frozen wreckage scattered across the ice. Broken metal, old structures, and pieces of something that did not belong to any human design. This place was not empty. It was abandoned. The storm grew stronger, pushing against him, trying to force him back. But Ethan kept going, his eyes searching, his ears focused on that weak voice. Then he saw it, a small shape, half buried under ice and metal, barely visible through the snow. Ethan rushed forward, dropping to his knees. With shaking hands he began to dig, pulling away frozen debris piece by piece. Hold on. I'm here, he said, even though he did not know if it could understand him. The ice cracked as he pulled the last piece away, and then he saw her, a small alien child, no bigger than a human girl of 6 years old. Her skin glowed faint blue, but the light was weak, flickering like it could disappear at any moment. Her body was covered in thin frost, her breathing slow and shallow. She looked fragile, like she could break with a single touch. For a moment, Ethan just stared, unable to move. She was real, alive, alone. Then her eyes slowly opened, bright, glowing, and filled with fear. She looked straight at him, her small body trembling. Ethan felt something deep inside his chest tighten. This was no enemy. This was just a child. He hesitated, just for a second. Saving her could cost him everything. His oxygen was low, his ship was failing, and he had no idea what she was or where she came from. This was not his mission. This was not his problem. But then she moved slowly, weakly. She lifted her small hand toward him, not attacking, not afraid, just reaching, trusting him. Ethan closed his eyes for a brief moment and made his choice. All right, I've got you. He gently picked her up, surprised at how light she was. Her cold hand grabbed onto his suit, holding tightly, like she was afraid he would disappear. The storm roared around them, louder than ever. But Ethan no longer cared, because deep inside he knew one thing: this moment would change his life forever. And he had no idea what was coming next. The storm did not slow down, it only grew louder, pushing against Ethan like it wanted to take the child away from him. But Ethan held her close, protecting her small body from the freezing wind. Her skin felt like ice, colder than anything he had ever touched. Stay with me. Don't fall asleep, he said, his voice firm but gentle. She did not answer. Her glowing light was fading again, becoming weaker with every step. Ethan looked ahead and saw his ship through the storm, barely visible, half buried in snow. It was not safe, not fully working, but it was the only chance they had. He moved faster, his boots slipping on the ice, his breathing heavy inside the damaged suit. Warning lights flashed inside his helmet. Oxygen level critical. Yeah. I know, Ethan muttered, forcing himself forward. The child suddenly tightened her grip on his arm. Even in her weak state, she refused to let go. It was like she was holding on to the only thing she had left in the universe. Ethan reached the ship and hit the control panel. The door opened slowly, struggling against the ice. Come on. Come on, he whispered. Finally, the door slid open, and Ethan rushed inside. The moment the door closed, the storm was cut off, leaving behind a deep, heavy silence. Ethan dropped to his knees. Still holding the child carefully, the ship lights flickered weakly, barely lighting the room. AI, activate emergency heating, Ethan said quickly. The system responded with a cold, emotionless voice. Power levels are low. Heating will be limited. Just do it, Ethan snapped. A soft warmth slowly filled the room. Not enough, but better than nothing. Ethan placed the child on a medical bed, his hands moving fast. He scanned her body. Watching the screen closely, the results made no sense. Her biology was completely unknown. No match in any database. No clear way to treat her. Great. Just great, Ethan sighed, running a hand through his hair. The child's breathing was getting weaker. If he did nothing, she would die. Ethan looked around, thinking fast. Thermal blankets. That's all I've got. He wrapped her carefully, layer after layer, trying to bring her body temperature up slowly. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a faint glow returned. Soft blue light spread across her skin again. Ethan leaned closer, watching carefully. Come on. You can do this, he whispered. Her fingers moved slightly, then suddenly, she grabbed his wrist. Ethan froze. Her grip was weak, but she held on tightly. Her eyes were still closed, but she would not let go. It was not fear. It was something else, something deeper, like she knew he was her only chance. Ethan slowly sat down beside the bed, not pulling away. All right. I'm here, he said softly. Minutes passed, then more. The ship remained quiet, except for the low hum of failing systems outside. The storm continued to rage inside. Something had changed. The child's breathing became more stable. Her glow grew a little stronger, not fully healed, but alive. Ethan let out a long breath, feeling some of the tension leave his body. Good. Stay with me. Then suddenly, the AI spoke again. Warning, unknown energy signature detected. Ethan looked at the screen, confused. What are you talking about? The energy is coming from the life form, the eye replied. Ethan turned back to the child. Her glow was no longer soft. It was growing brighter, stronger, almost reacting. Hey. Easy, Ethan said, unsure what was happening. Then it happened. A voice. Soft, quiet, but clear, inside his head. Don't let them take me. Ethan jumped back in shock, his heart racing. He looked around the room. No. No, that's not possible. But the voice came again, weaker this time. Please. Ethan stared at the child. Her eyes were still closed, her body still weak. But somehow, she was speaking to him without words, without sound, directly into his mind. Ethan took a slow step closer, his voice low. Was that you? The child did not answer, but her grip on his wrist tightened again. And deep inside, Ethan understood. It was her. Before he could say anything else, the ship alarm suddenly exploded to life. Loud, sharp, and urgent. Warning. Multiple unidentified ships entering orbit, the eye announced. Ethan's blood ran cold. What? He rushed to the control panel, pulling up the external view, And there they were, dark shapes in the sky, large, powerful, and not human. They moved with purpose, scanning the planet, searching. Ethan slowly turned his head toward the child. She was awake now, her glowing eyes filled with fear, and in that moment, he realized the truth. They were not here for him, they were here for her, and now there was no turning back. The alarms kept screaming through the ship, loud and sharp, breaking the silence into pieces. Ethan stood frozen for a moment, staring at the screen. 5 large ships hovered above the planet, dark and silent. They were not human. Their shapes were strange, smooth and sharp at the same time, like they were alive AI. Identify them, Ethan said quickly. Unknown origin, no match in database, the AI replied. Ethan clenched his jaw. That was not a good sign. He looked back at the child. She was sitting up slightly now, her small body still wrapped in blankets. Her glowing eyes were locked on him, filled with fear. Then the voice came again. Inside his mind, they found me. Ethan did not panic this time, but his heart still raced. Who found you? He asked quietly. There was a short pause, then images hit his mind, fast and powerful. Fire in the sky, ships burning, buildings collapsing into dust. Screams. So many screams. Ethan staggered back, grabbing the edge of the console. What was that? He whispered. They destroy everything. Her voice echoed inside his head. Ethan looked at her again, now understanding a little more. She was not just running, she was the last one left. Why are they after you? He asked, trying to stay calm. The child lowered her eyes. I don't know. Only that I must not be taken. Before Ethan could respond, the ship suddenly shook slightly. A signal was coming in. Incoming transmission, the AI said. Ethan hesitated, then accepted it. The screen flickered. A tall figure appeared, not human. Its face was hidden behind a dark mask, its eyes glowing faint red. Its voice was cold, calm, and full of control. Human, it said slowly. Ethan said nothing. Watching carefully. You have something that does not belong to you, the figure continued. Ethan glanced at the child, then back at the screen. I don't know what you're talking about, he replied. The figure did not react. Return the child, and you will be allowed to live. Ethan felt anger rise inside him. Allowed to live, like his life meant nothing. He took a step closer to the screen. And if I say no? There was a brief silence. Then the figure spoke again. Then you will be erased, along with this planet. The transmission ended instantly. The room fell silent again. Ethan stood there, thinking. This was bigger than him, much bigger. He looked at the child again. She was shaking now, holding the blanket tightly. They will kill you, she said softly in his mind. Ethan walked over to her, slower this time. Yeah, I figured that part, he said with a small, tired smile. He crouched down in front of her, meeting her glowing eyes. Listen, I don't know who you are or what you can do, but I do know one thing. You're just a kid. She stared at him, silent. And I'm not handing you over to anyone. Ethan finished. For a moment, she said nothing then. Slowly, she reached out and held his hand again. Her grip was still weak, but stronger than before. You will get hurt, she whispered in his mind. Ethan shrugged slightly. Yeah. Happens a lot. For the first time, her expression changed. Just a little, not fear. Something softer, something like trust. Suddenly, the ship shook again, stronger this time. Warning. Energy lock detected, the AI announced. They are targeting us. Ethan rushed back to the controls. The enemy ships were moving closer, surrounding the area. Scanning, locking, preparing. We don't have time, Ethan said, thinking fast. His ship was damaged, not ready for a fight. Running was also risky, but staying here was certain death. He looked at the navigation system. AI, how long until engines are ready? Minimum 5 minutes, the AI replied. Ethan exhaled slowly. 5 minutes felt like forever right now. He looked Back at the child, she was watching him closely. What do we do? Her voice echoed in his mind. Ethan paused, then answered honestly. We survive. He started moving quickly, preparing the ship, rerouting power, forcing systems to wake up outside. The sky grew darker as the enemy ships moved into position. Weapons began to charge, glowing with dangerous energy. Inside the ship, the tension grew heavier with every second. The child closed her eyes for a moment, and then her glow started to grow stronger again, brighter than before, different. Ethan noticed it and frowned. What are you doing? He asked. I don't know, she replied softly, but something is waking up. Ethan stared at her, a strange feeling building in his chest. Whatever she was not just a child, and whatever was coming next would change everything. The sky above the frozen planet turned darker, not from clouds, but from ships. Massive alien vessels moved slowly into position, blocking every escape path. Ethan stood at the control panel, watching them close in, his jaw tight. They're not wasting time, he said quietly. The child sat behind him, wrapped in blankets, her glow flickering stronger and weaker at the same time. They are getting closer, her voice whispered inside his mind. I can see that, Ethan replied, forcing his hands to stay steady. The ship trembled as another energy lock warning flashed across the screen. AI status, Ethan said quickly. Engines at 40%, weapons at 20%, shields unstable, the AI responded. Ethan let out a short breath. Not great, but it'll have to do. Outside, one of the large ships moved forward, separating from the others. It was bigger, more detailed, like a command vessel. A transmission signal flashed again. Ethan stared at it for a second, then accepted. The same masked figure appeared on the screen, calm as before. You are still alive, the figure said. Yeah. I try to be, Ethan answered, his tone flat. You are making a mistake. The figure continued. Return the child, and this ends. Ethan shook his head slowly. Not happening. There was a small pause. Then the figure tilted its head slightly. You do not understand what you are protecting. Ethan glanced back at the child. She was watching the screen now, her eyes filled with quiet fear. Maybe not, Ethan said, turning back. But I know I'm not handing her over to someone like you. The figure's glowing eyes narrowed slightly. Then you will share her fate. The transmission cut off instantly. Ethan did not wait. AI power to engines. Now warning, systems may fail. Do it anyway. The ship roared weakly as energy pushed through damaged circuits. Outside, smaller enemy ships began to move, fast and sharp, heading straight toward him. They're sending fighters, Ethan said, gripping the controls. The child's voice came again, softer now. I'm scared. Ethan looked back at her for a second. Hey. Stay with me, he said calmly. I won't let anything happen to you. It was a promise he was not sure he could keep. The ship lifted off the ice slowly, shaking as it struggled against gravity and damage. Come on. Come on, Ethan muttered. Pushing the controls harder, the first enemy fighters fired. Bright energy blasts cut through the air, hitting the ground where his ship had been seconds before. Ethan pulled the ship upward, barely avoiding the next wave. Too close, he said under his breath. Warning alarms filled the cockpit again. Louder and faster, multiple targets locked, the eye announced. I can see that, Ethan replied. Steering hard to the left, another blast hit the side of the ship. The entire structure shook violently. Hull damage increasing. Ethan gritted his teeth. We can't take many more hits. Behind him, the child held onto the seat tightly, her small hands shaking. Her glow started to pulse again, brighter with each passing second. Ethan noticed it from the corner of his eye. Hey. Stay calm, he said, not taking his focus off the battle. I'm trying, she whispered in his mind. More enemy ships closed in, surrounding him from all sides. They're hurting us, Ethan realized, forcing him into a trap ahead. One of the larger ships began charging a massive weapon. A deep, dangerous glow formed at its center. That's not good, Ethan said, his voice low. The AI spoke quickly. Energy levels indicate a planet-level weapon. Ethan's eyes widened. Slightly. They're not just trying to stop us. They're ending this, the child suddenly gasped softly. No. They will destroy everything. Ethan made a fast decision. Hold on. He pushed the ship into a sharp dive, heading straight toward the ice surface again. Enemy ships followed. Firing continuously, blasts exploded behind him, sending shockwaves through the air. The ship's systems flickered, almost shutting down. Come on. Don't die on me now, Ethan said, hitting the controls again. At the last second, he pulled the ship up, flying low across the ice. The enemy fighters struggled to adjust, some crashing into the ground, others pulling back. It gave him a few seconds, just a few, inside the ship. The child's glow suddenly became intense, filling the room with blue light. Ethan glanced back quickly. What's happening? I don't know, she said, her voice echoing stronger in his mind. It hurts. But it feels like something is waking up. The light grew brighter, almost blinding. The ship's systems reacted strangely. Screens flickering, energy readings spiking. Ethan felt the air change, like pressure building around them. Outside, even the enemy ships slowed for a moment. Like they sensed it too. Ethan stared at the readings, confused and uneasy, whatever power she had. It was not normal, and it was growing fast, very fast. He tightened his grip on the controls, his voice low and serious. Whatever happens next, we face it together. The child did not answer with words, but her hand reached forward again, holding onto him, and in that moment, Ethan understood one thing clearly. This was no longer just a rescue. This was the beginning of something far bigger, something that could change everything. The light inside the ship kept growing, filling every corner with a deep blue glow. Ethan could barely see the control panel now, the brightness almost blinding. AI, what is happening? He asked, his voice tense. Unknown energy surge detected. Source confirmed. The child, the AI replied. Ethan looked back at her. She was no longer just sitting on the seat. She was floating slightly above it. Her small body surrounded by waves of soft light. Her eyes were closed, but her face showed pain. It hurts, her voice echoed inside his mind, stronger than before. Ethan stepped toward her, ignoring the shaking of the ship. Hey. Stay with me, he said, trying to keep his voice calm. You're not alone, I'm right here. The ship trembled again as another blast hit the outer hull. Outside, the enemy ships were still attacking, but their movements had changed. They were no longer just hunting. They were watching, waiting. Energy levels are rising rapidly, the eye warned. If this continues, the ship will not survive. Ethan clenched his fists. Then we stop it. He reached out toward the child. Slowly. Carefully, the moment his hand touched her glowing arm, everything changed. A powerful force rushed through him. Not pain, but something deeper. Images exploded inside his mind, faster than he could understand. A bright world full of light and life, tall glowing beings standing together, peaceful, connected. The same blue light flowing through everything. Then, darkness ships. In the sky, cold and silent. Weapons firing, cities falling, screams echoing across space. Ethan gasped, pulling back slightly. What? What was that? He whispered. That was my home, her voice answered, softer now, filled with sadness. Ethan looked at her, his heart heavy. They destroyed it, she continued. They came for our power, Ethan slowly understood. Peace. By peace, your power, this energy? Yes, she said. It is life. It can create, protect, or destroy. Ethan stared at her, realizing the truth. This was not just a child. She was something far more important, something rare, something dangerous. They want to use you, Ethan said quietly. Yes, she replied. They took others before me. They did not survive. A cold silence filled the room. Ethan felt anger rise inside him, stronger than before. "They're not getting you," he said firmly. The child slowly opened her glowing eyes. "You cannot stop them," she whispered. Ethan gave a small, tired smile. "Maybe not, but I can try." Outside, the large enemy ship began to move again, its massive weapon fully charged now. Glowing with dark energy, "They are preparing to fire," the eye warned. Ethan turned back to the controls, his mind racing. "If that hits us, it's over." The child looked toward the front of the ship, her expression changing. "I can feel it," she said. "Their fear and their greed." Her glow pulsed again, stronger than ever. Ethan looked at the readings, shocked. The energy coming from her was off the charts. "Wait, can you control it?" he asked quickly. There was a pause. "I don't know," she answered honestly. "I have never used it like this." Ethan took a deep breath. "Then we figure it out together." The ship shook again as another wave of enemy fighters closed. In blasts hit the shields, pushing them to the limit. "Shields at critical," the AI said. Ethan tightened his grip on the controls. "Okay. No more running." He turned the ship to face the enemy fleet directly. The child looked at him, surprised. "What are you doing?" Ethan's voice was calm, but strong. "If they want you, they're coming through me." For a moment, she just stared at him. Then something changed in her eyes, not fear, not pain, but trust, deep and real. She slowly reached out her hand again. Ethan took it without hesitation. The moment their hands touched, the energy around her changed. It became more stable, more focused, like it was responding to him. Ethan felt it. Too, a connection strange, but real. "Don't be afraid," he said softly. "I'm with you." Her light grew brighter, but this time, it did not feel out of control. It felt guided, directed. Outside, the enemy ship fired. A massive beam of dark energy shot toward them, cutting through space like a blade. Ethan did not move. He did not run. He trusted her. The child closed her eyes, focusing, and then she raised her hand. The blue light exploded outward, meeting the incoming attack head-on. The two forces collided, light against darkness, power against power. The entire sky lit up like a second sun. Inside the ship, everything shook violently. Ethan held on, his eyes locked on the energy outside. "Hold it. Just a little longer," he said. The child cried out softly, the strain visible on her face. "I'm trying." The light pushed forward slowly, fighting back the attack. Ethan could feel it. This was not just power, this was her will, her fight to survive, and he was part of it now. For the first time, the enemy ships began to pull back slightly, not attacking, but reacting. They were not expecting this. Ethan smiled faintly, despite the danger. "Yeah, that's right." But deep inside, he knew one thing. This was only the beginning, because now they truly understood what she was, and they would not stop until they had her, or destroyed everything trying. The sky burned with light and fire, as blue energy clashed against dark power again and again. Ethan held the controls tightly, his ship shaking under the pressure of the battle. Outside, the massive enemy fleet spread out, forming a wide circle. They were not just attacking anymore. They were preparing to end this. Multiple targets locking again, the AI warned. Ethan glanced at the screen, his eyes sharp. "Of course they are," he said under his breath. Behind him, the child floated slightly above the floor again, her body surrounded by bright blue light. But this time, she was not out of control. She was focused, her eyes were open, now glowing brighter than before. "They are afraid," she said softly in his mind. Ethan almost laughed. "Good. They should be." Another wave of enemy fighters rushed toward them, faster and more aggressive than before. Energy blasts filled the space around the ship. Ethan moved quickly, dodging left and right, pushing the damaged ship to its limit. "Come on. Just hold together a little longer," he muttered. A blast hit the side of the ship. The entire cockpit shook violently, sparks flying from broken panels. "Hull integrity critical," the AI said. Yeah, I noticed, Ethan replied, breathing hard. The child suddenly cried out. Ethan looked back quickly. Her light flickered for a moment. Unstable. I can feel them, she said, her voice filled with pressure. They are trying to break me. Ethan frowned, confused. Break you? How? They are using something. Something like my power, but twisted, she answered. Ethan's expression darkened. So they learned how to fight you? Yes, she said. And they will not stop. Ethan turned back to the battle, his mind racing. Running was no longer an option. Hiding was impossible. There was only one choice left. We end this, he said quietly. The child looked at him. How? Ethan took a deep breath. We hit the main ship. The large command vessel still hovered in the distance. Calm, powerful, untouched. Everything was coming from there. The orders, the weapons, the control. If we take that down, the rest might. Stop, Ethan explained. The child was silent for a moment. Then she nodded slightly. I will help you. Ethan gave a small smile. I know you will. He pushed the controls forward, turning the ship directly toward the command vessel, enemy. Fighters immediately reacted, moving to block his path. They're not going to make this easy, Ethan said. They never do. The ship surged forward, shaking harder than ever. Energy blasts exploded all around them. Ethan dodged what he could, but not everything. Another hit landed, stronger this time. The ship screamed under the damage, systems failing one by one. Engines failing, the eye warned. Ethan gritted his teeth. Not yet. Stay with me. The child raised her hand again. Her light spread forward, creating a shield of blue. Energy around the ship. The next wave of attacks hit the shield and scattered. Ethan stared for a second, impressed. Nice. Keep that up. I am trying, she replied. Her voice strained. They pushed forward, closer and closer to the command ship. It grew larger in front of them, like a dark wall in space. Suddenly, the command ship reacted. Its main weapon began to charge again, stronger than before. A deep, heavy energy filled the space. That's it. That's the one, Ethan said, his voice serious. If that fires, we're done. The child closed her eyes, focusing harder than ever. Her glow became brighter, almost pure white at the center. I will stop it, she said. Ethan shook his head slightly. No. We stop it. He pushed the last of the ship's power into the engines. The ship surged forward one final time, straight toward the enemy vessel. Alarms screamed louder than ever. Critical failure imminent. The I repeated. Ethan ignored it. This was the end, one way or another. Hold on, he said. The child reached out again, grabbing his arm tightly. I'm with you, she whispered. The command ship fired. A massive beam of dark energy shot toward them, faster than anything before. Ethan did not turn away. He did not try to escape. He trusted her. The child released everything. Her power exploded outward, brighter than a star. The blue energy collided with the dark beam. The impact shook everything. Space itself seemed to bend under the force. Ethan felt the ship breaking apart around him, but he did not let go. Now. Push, he said through clenched teeth. The child cried out, her voice filled with pain and strength. The light surged forward, breaking through the dark energy, closer, closer, until finally it hit the command ship. A massive explosion of light filled the sky for a moment. Everything went silent. Ethan's vision blurred, his body heavy. The ship drifted, broken and quiet. He looked back slowly. The child was falling, her glow fading fast. Hey, stay with me, he said weakly. Reaching for her, she looked at him, her eyes soft and tired. I'm here, she whispered in his mind. Ethan pulled her close, holding her tightly. The battle was over, but the cost was not clear yet, and as silence filled the stars, only one question remained. Did they win? Or was this just the beginning of something even bigger? The silence after the battle was deafening. Ethan sat in the cockpit, holding the child close. her small body trembling but alive. Her blue glow had faded to a soft light. Weaker than before, he looked down at her, his chest tight with exhaustion and relief. "You did it," he whispered. She did not speak, only pressed closer to him, holding his arm for a moment. They just sat there, surrounded by the broken ship and scattered debris of the battle outside. The stars were quiet again. The enemy fleet had disappeared, retreating into the darkness of space. For now, the threat was gone. But Ethan knew it would not stay gone for long. He slowly helped her onto a small seat, wrapping her again in the remaining thermal blankets. "You need to rest," he said gently. "I will," she replied softly, her voice still echoing inside his mind. Ethan looked at the ship, damaged and barely functioning. "Yeah, we're going to need repairs," he muttered. The child tilted her head slightly, watching him. "You saved me," she whispered, "and I'm alive because of you." Ethan gave a small, tired smile. "Yeah, I guess we saved each other," he said. Her eyes glowed faintly again, a little stronger than before. "I don't understand." "My power," she said softly. "It's dangerous," Ethan replied carefully. "But you used it to save yourself. And me." Her small hands rested on his arm, weak but steady. "I'm scared of what comes next," she admitted. Ethan nodded, understanding exactly how she felt. "We'll figure it out," he said firmly. "I promise. You're not alone anymore." Outside, the planet was quiet, covered in snow and ice. The storm had passed, leaving the frozen landscape still and cold. Ethan finally took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the past hours settle on him. "AI scan for survivors," he said. "No other life forms detected on the planet." The AI responded. Ethan's heart sank slightly. She was truly alone, the last of her kind. "Don't worry," he said softly. "I'll make sure you're safe." The child looked at him, her eyes bright. "You are my family now," she said. Ethan's chest tightened. He was not sure he was ready for that, but somehow it felt right. "I'll do my best," he said quietly. Time passed slowly as he repaired what he could of the ship. The child stayed close, her glow pulsating softly. At first silent, then she finally spoke. "I remember them. My home, my family," she whispered. Ethan nodded slowly, listening. "They destroyed everything," she continued. "But I survived." "Yes," Ethan said firmly, "and you'll keep surviving." Her glow grew a little brighter at that. "I don't want to hurt anyone again," she admitted. Ethan shook his head, understanding her fear. "You already saved a lot today," he said, "and that's what matters." She looked at him, eyes full of gratitude and something else, trust, hope, a bond forming between them that went beyond words. Ethan finally allowed himself to relax slightly. For the first time in days, he felt calm. They were alive together, and that was enough for now. But even as he repaired the ship, he knew the galaxy was watching. There were others who would come for her, and for the power she carried. He glanced at her softly. "No matter what comes next," he said quietly, "I'll protect you." She smiled faintly, small but real. "I believe you," she replied. Ethan's eyes softened. For now the war was over, but the journey had just begun. They would face danger, enemies, and the unknown. But together, they were stronger than anything. The child looked out the small window, the stars reflecting in her glowing eyes. "I don't know what the future holds," she whispered. Ethan put a hand on her shoulder. "Neither do I," he said. "But we face it together." Outside, the frozen planet sparkled under the distant starlight, a quiet reminder of the battles fought, the lives lost, and the hope that remained. The child rested her head on his arm, still glowing softly. Ethan looked at her, a small smile forming. "This is just the beginning," he said quietly. And somewhere in the dark reaches of space, unseen forces were stirring. But for now, they were safe, and that was enough. Together, they would face the galaxy, side by side, human and alien, protector and child, bonded forever by survival, trust, and the promise of a new beginning.